Okay, modelers, so just forgive the noise in the background. I've got a very windy night here in my shed, and it's blowing the trees against the shed, so it's banging against the shed. So if you hear that noise, just please forgive that, guys. But today we're going to be doing an inbox review on our Bedford truck here with a 6 pound AT gun like loaded on the back there. I'm not sure if you can set this up being towed or whether it's got to actually be in the back. Not really sure, but we'll see as we go through the kit. Now this one's a bit of an older kit. It's been around for a few years. From what I understand, it has got a few fit issues. Like, it's not a perfect kit. It's not like a Tamiya or anything like that. It has got a few issues. I'll just bring this camera in a little bit, guys, so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so like I say, from Italeri, this one here's got $72 on a sticker up here, but again, I bought this second hand off someone. I can't remember how much I paid for this. I've had it for a few years now, guys, but we go through, we'll have a look and see what she's like. And as you can see, beautiful box art on this thing. I pretty much know that I want to set this up like on a desert base, like with those tyre tracks. I mean, like it's shown on here, absolutely beautiful box art. I want to try and mimic what's on the box art there. Looks really, really nice. With a typical Italeri box, there's not much on the outside, a little bit of instructions in different languages. They've got some pictures here with it actually built up. If we can get the camera to focus for you guys. So you can see it actually built up there, sort of thing. But yeah, not much else going on in the box. It has been opened before. They opened this one up years ago, guys, to have a quick look inside to see what's in here. As you can see, she's got a fair bit in it. She's sort of packed to the brim. So on the front cover of our instructions here, guys, we've got a little bit of information on the machines themselves, like the gun and the truck. A little bit of history on it, not much there, just very basic. And then we've got our sprue call out down here on this first page. And as you can see, you've got like 8 sprues there. The colour call out there too. Down the bottom, you've got all your colour call outs along the bottom down here. Okay, so our first page, so we have got an engine in this, guys. We've got the engine going together up there, got the radiator going on. We've got our base going on here with our suspension, the chassis going together there, our diffs going together up here in a few pieces. So it all looks fairly delicate, and hopefully you should be able to detail this engine up a little bit and have the bonnet opened up so you can actually see into this engine. It's one of the things I'm thinking about posing it open with some crew working on it, but I'll see how I go when I do the build. So here we've got our exhaust going up underneath the chassis, our sump and all that sort of stuff, and the diffs going on. Drive shaft, tail shaft, all that sort of stuff going up underneath there. And then on the next page we've got our fuel tanks, looks like going together here and going hatched onto the side of the chassis, and then same on the opposite side, hatched onto the side of the chassis with the fuel tanks. Some steering rods and that going on there as well. Now these are some of the places I think this has got fit issues. I can't quite remember, but I think these things don't line up and everything's a little bit crooked and everything, but I mean, you know, we can work with that, we can do what we need to. Then we've got our cab going together here, guards, the base of the cab, the firewall, a little bit of stuff going on here with our drive rods going through the firewall. And then on the next page here, we've got our actual cab going together up on the top part here, with the seats, steering wheel, that sort of stuff. So again, you know, this is one of those kits you're going to have to weather it up inside as well as the outside, because the cabs would have copped a fair bit of iron. I mean, they spent a lot of time in these things, driving over deserts, in and out of the thing, so it would have been knocked around fairly badly. It's not like they kept these things clean. So, you know, weathering inside and out is something you're going to have to do with these kits. Got our clear parts going on there. Now, I'm not sure whether we can do those separate. We can put those on later. I'm not sure. I'm going to see how it goes. They may have to go in at this stage and mask them up to make sure they're okay. Windscreen wipers. Not sure if they're separate or they're actually built into the glass, but we'll have to have a look at that when we go through the parts. And our lights going together there, all the little details going on the outside, hinges for the bonnet, all that sort of thing. And looks like we're starting on our tray over here, the base of our tray. And then we've got the bottom of the tray, like all our toolboxes and stuff like that used to be attached to the underneath the chassis underneath at the back. And there's our tray sitting there. Cab goes onto the chassis. and our wheels go on. Now I think the wheels, yeah they are, I can see them there. They're actually solid plastic, so that's not too bad. We can paint those up like, you know, in one piece rather than putting rubber on afterwards. And then we got out starting to put our sides onto the tray here, and we've got the spares for our gun going together here, sticking on the sides. The little odds and ends are going there, toolboxes, stuff like that going together. Up here we've got our ramps for our gun to be loaded on the back. Got a few rifles and tools and stuff going on there. So these are all things that can be painted separate and put on afterwards, guys, and it depends on how you want to pose this thing too, as to whether you want the ramps up in there or actually set up to load the cannon or whatever. And then looks like we go into our cannon now. This looks like it's fairly finely detailed, quite a few parts going on here to start putting together. We've got our breech and everything going on there, barrel going on, sits down, we've got our facing plate there, our loading levers, and then some more detail going on. I can't tell you what a lot of the stuff is, but this is all part of the towing gear here, with our hitch for our towing and all that sort of thing. And there's the actual the diff or the axle housing that goes on for the wheels, and then we start putting it all together into one piece here. And this one here, I'm not sure, guys, it's got the tyres going together, but it's got all these little pieces going in there, so I'm not exactly sure what they are, but some sort of armour things, I'm not really sure, but we'll see when we put it together, guys, as to what they really are. Then on the back here we've sort of got the different ways we can set it up, and by looking, we actually have got a little bit of a base that we can start with here. It's only a small base that you can put the cannon on, so obviously we can start with that and build on it to put the truck and everything on that base as well. Then we've got our decal call outs on this section here. So we'll start having a look. That's just some stuff we don't need to worry about. And our first packets here, guys, I'll open these up so we have a good look inside. Pretty sure, yeah, this is the cannon. There's all the parts for the cannon, and there's some really nice detail I can see on these, like the big rivet and bolt heads and stuff on the facing plate. There's very, very nice. Tyres are nice and chunky looking. Obviously when you put these together you're going to have a seam up the middle of these tyres that you'll have to clean up, but you know, it's no big drama, we can do that. And all the finer parts look like they're really, really nicely moulded. You can see the hexagonal shape of the bolt heads and things like that on there. Very nice. Now I can see there is a bit of flash on some of these parts that'll have to be cleaned up, and they're very, very delicate. But again, with kits like this, guys, that are a bit older, and you know, like I say, they're not a Tamiya kit, so you expect to see things like that in there. The main part's got the flashings up here, and plus we've got pinheads on here that have to be cleaned up. And even on the insides of these, I can see a little bit of flash that has to be cleaned. So a nice sharp knife will clean most of that up. A little bit of sanding, you get rid of most of that. Here we've got our towing legs, and there's actually a weld seam. Hope you can see it on the video, guys. There's a weld seam that goes right up the middle in. It's really nice and fine. That's very well done there. The only problem I can see with that is a big injector pin mark there and another one there. We've got an internal one and an external one, and they're in a bugger of a place because you've got your bolts coming out here, and that has to be cleaned up and a weld put back in there. That one has to be filled. So that's not that great. That's pretty awful, actually. I mean, even whether you have it to the inside or the outside, you're going to see that. So this is pretty much similar, but it just hasn't got the injector pin marks. But anyway, guys, we'll see how we go when we start putting it together, whether they're going to be a huge drama or not. Barrel, two pieces. Obviously, when it's clamped together, you'll have a seam mark you've got to clean up. On the glue seam, all the little grab handles and things, all the loading mechanisms. So some fairly fine detail to put this thing together, so it should look really nice when it's done, guys. And our last one here for the gun, so there's our base that we were talking about. This is only to put the cannon in, that's all it is, but we can build on that. Okay, now the sand looks way too uniform, and yeah, it's going to have to be, I'll put other sand on it and stuff like that and sort of tidy it up. It just looks way too uniform, it just looks so fake. So we'll try and clean that up a bit. Got our ammo crates, our ammo going on here as well. There's our big machine gun, the big Bren gun there going on. But yeah, that all looks quite nice except for that nasty looking base. But it's good that we've got something to build on there, guys. Okay, so next we got, this will be the start of our actual truck. Pull these out of the plastic so we can start going through. Okay, so we've got our tyres here. These look really nicely done actually, guys. They've got the printing on the sidewall here, your Dunlop track grip, so you can really see what they actually are. Some nice big thick tread on there, looks very, very nice. You can even see the ratchets around these drive heads here, very, very nice. The diffs, again, all the bolts that hold them together, that they all stand out, very, very nice. And our springs there, so, and I can see there's only like a really little bit of flash on these, nothing like the actual cannon part. It looks like the cannon's been moulded in a different type of plastic and it's got terrible seams on it, but these aren't too bad. But they do have these injector pin knobs on here. They'll have to be cleaned off on a lot of these parts, but that's not a big drama. We can do that, we can deal with that. And here we have, looks like our fuel tanks, our toolboxes and things like that, our sides, looks like our ramps here. Again, really nice detail moulded into these guys, and they're detailed enough with the grab handles and that they're going to look actually really, really nice when they're put together. It's enough detail. I can see some, hopefully these will be hidden, they'll be glued onto something. You won't see those awful plastic ripple marks in there, and same with these pieces here. Again, I can see flash on the ramps here and on the ends of these. There's a couple of little places I can see flash, but it's not major flash, it's only fairly fine. This one here with that cable reel, it's an awful place that they've actually got that joint onto the sprue. You have to cut that off, then clean it off, and then put the grooves in where that was actually attached. But you know, it's little things like this with these older kits, and you know, not top-notch kits, that you'll find little things like that you'll have to deal with. But you know, as modelers, that's what we do. Here's our windscreen, and it hasn't got the wipers moulded in there. They must be separate in here somewhere. Okay, we'll open up this last packet, guys, and we'll have a look what's in here. So we've got 3 sprues in here. Okay, so here's our interior, like the floor pan for the interior. Engine going on here. Our gauges for our dash, they're very nicely done, guys. They're not too thick and bulky. They're not really fine detail, but I mean, these old trucks had big heavy gauges and stuff in them anyway, so that's quite ample for what we're going to need. But really nice detail. Again, the radiator's got some nice detail in it. Here's all our rifles, Bren gun, all that sort of stuff through the back. We even got a saw on here. There's our main guards, steering wheel. Seats have got some nice ripples built into the seats here. There's the other side of our dash. So yeah, that all looks really good, guys. There's I can't see any flash on any of these. A little bit around the engine there I can see. And all these pins, like these pins where the moulding process goes on, obviously will have to be cleaned right up. And they're on pretty much everything, the guns and all that sort of thing. But again, it's part of modelling, that has to be done. Okay, we've got our second last sprue here now. We'll flip her over. So this is our front here. We've got our roof, we've got our sides, we've got our doors, things like that. Just looking at the detail that's built into these. Okay, our doors don't look too bad. There's a little bit of flash coming out of these holes here where the handles go in, so we'll have to clean those back before we put the handles on. But everything else looks quite nice. The chassis looks quite nice. There's a few injector pin marks on that will have to be cleaned up on the sides there. Now looking at the doors, when you flip it over, some big ugly injector pin marks that'll have to be cleaned up, because you'll see from one side window right through to the other, and you'll see those inside, so they'll have to be cleaned up. But other than that, like the rivets and things like that are all in the nice places, and they're nice and fine. They're not overdone. Very nice. I can see a bit of flash going on in places around these, which will have to be cleaned up very, very delicately. A bit of sandpaper over that might just knock those off, and those should be fine. But they don't look too bad. And here we have bits of our tray and the sides on our tray, the back chassis for the tray, toolbox housings. We've got a chain built in here, which would be the chain that hold the gun down. That's moulded into the plastic, which, I mean, on its own, it's not like a bad thing. It's not unexpected, I guess, being an older kit, but if you paint that up right, it should be fine. Like a dry brush over that, it should come up quite nice. But everything else looks okay. There is a bit of flash on some of these. Again, they'll have to be cleaned off. But yeah, quite nice, guys. It's not bad at all for an older kit. Normally, sometimes with older kits, you get some awful flashing and stuff like that. I still see there's a shovel stuck in that packet. I'll get that out. Otherwise, I'm going to throw the packet out and throw the shovel with it. A little shovel there. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much it. And here's our decals here. And they look adequate. I can't see any, like excess around the outside. You can't feel them lumped up. They look feel fairly smooth to the surface, so they should be very, very nice. And there's not a lot of them anyway, guys. There are only a couple of them on there. Looking at the 7 here, is probably the thickest one that I can sort of tell, and you can barely feel the little knob on there where it sticks up, but it's quite nice. So anyway, guys, it's going to be a bit of a see, wait and see sort of thing, whether the fit details as bad as what I've seen on some forums and things like that, as to just how bad some of these things are. But another one of those kits, guys, I'm really looking forward to, because we can do a bit of weathering on this. We can pose it on a nice diorama and all that sort of thing. But anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video.